Hey everybody, Jeff here for POD Insights, the podcast and YouTube channel. This video is going to be a continuation of the topic of Etsy profits for print-on-demand sellers. Earlier this year, I did a video where I took a look at a breakdown of how much profit you can make by selling print-on-demand products on Etsy. And in this video, I'm going to talk about a couple ways that you can track your actual profits from month to month. All right, so as I mentioned earlier this year, I released a video all about breaking down the profit that you can make selling print on demand on Etsy, so be sure to check that one out if you haven't already. I'll link to that in the corner and in the description. So how do you go about tracking the profits you're actually making from month to month? Well, there is a super simple and easy way, and then there is a slightly more involved way. The slightly more involved way, of course, is the free way, and the super easy way is the not free way. So let's just hit on that super easy way first, just in case you prefer to sort of hit the easy button and then not really have to worry about it. The easiest way is to use QuickBooks, which actually has an integration with Etsy so that Etsy will send all of your sales data right over to your QuickBooks account, and it will capture all of that revenue and all the fees and everything for you automatically. QuickBooks Self-Employed is like a basic version of QuickBooks, which only has some limited functionality. However, for most Etsy print-on-demand sellers, it's going to provide really all that you need. I personally still use the Self-Employed version of QuickBooks, and it works just fine to help me track my profits as well as help me prepare for filing taxes. Setting up the integration with your Etsy account once you create your QuickBooks account is super easy, and then it will automatically import all of your order information, including the revenue from your orders, as well as all of the Etsy fees that are deducted. And the great thing about QuickBooks is it also makes it really easy for you to apply categories and then have new transactions automatically have categories applied. So for example, your Etsy listing fees, when you sell something, you get charged that 20 cents, as well as when you create a new listing, you can automatically create a category. If it doesn't automatically pick up the listing fees category, you can assign that to a couple of the transactions, and then it will ask you if you want to make that a rule to apply to future transactions. And that's really helpful at tax time because you can generate a tax summary report that will automatically tell you how much did you pay in listing fees throughout the last year, and that's actually a category of expense that you need to put on your tax return. Now, the way that you get your order fulfillment expenses and other overhead expenses into QuickBooks so that it's factoring those in as well is just by linking your bank account or your credit card that you use to pay for those expenses. Okay, so that was the super easy way to track your profit from month to month throughout the year and make sure that you are maintaining those profit margins that you need. But if that is not quite in your budget, or if you just prefer to do things yourself, there is a way that you can download your transactions for each month from Etsy and then also remove your order fulfillment expenses. So the way you get that information from Etsy is to go to your Finances tab on your seller dashboard and then go to Monthly Statements. On this page, you'll have a bunch of options. They actually summarize some things for you. I don't personally find it super helpful unless I just want a really quick look at like how much I've paid in certain fees. And normally there would be a whole list of transactions here. This is the POD Insights account that I use just for making tutorials. There's no actual sales in here from this current month. So what you would want to do is select the month that you want to download, and of course, make sure you got it set on the right year. And so for this example, let's say I wanted to know December of last year. We'll go December 2022. And then what you want to do is look down in the right corner, right above the list of transactions. There is a Generate CSV button. You will click on that. It will take maybe a minute or two, depending on how many transactions there are here, but then it will turn into a Download CSV button. So you want to download that. Once that downloads, just open the CSV file. It depends on what software you have installed on your computer as far as what program it opens in, but if you have Microsoft Excel, it most likely will open with Microsoft Excel. And when you open that file, I recommend first saving it to whatever location you want, whether on your computer or an external drive, and save it as an actual regular Excel file instead of a CSV. So this will contain all of your individual order transactions as well as all the fees. Of course, yours won't be grayed out. I just am hiding the order information because it includes listing names and order numbers and things like that, but those columns will have the order information for you. Now, one thing that Etsy does that's a little bit annoying with the way they export this, if you look at each row where it indicates there's a sale, that's going to be your revenue from a particular sale. It doesn't actually net the fees out from left to right. It does them by row. So this row here from December 31st. By the way, this spreadsheet is December of 2022 from my real Etsy shop because there were no transactions in the POD Insights Etsy shop. But as you can see here, this particular sale in row 4 from December 31st of 2022, the revenue was $15.40. However, that's not what I received because that does not net out, that doesn't remove any of the actual fees. Now, the info column will include some information about what these fees are, but you can see that there are several amounts here and they should reference the order number. However, we're not really concerned. If you're tracking your profit, we're really going to only be concerned with the month level and not individual transactions. So it's not that big of a deal the way they list it out. What we're going to do is we're basically just going to total up each column and use that as a measure of how much revenue was there and then how much did we actually receive. One thing you may notice and wonder about is that taxes are included on here. Every few rows, you'll see that part of these transactions includes the tax that the customer paid. And you might be tempted to filter or delete those out because you could be thinking to yourself, I didn't pay those taxes, so I don't want to remove it from the revenue. However, you actually do want to leave that in there. You want to leave the tax information in there because the sales tax that the customer paid is actually included. Etsy includes that in the total revenue for the sale. All right, so once we have an individual month, the easiest way I think to just get to a total is to find the very last row. What we're going to do here is we're not just going to total up the revenue minus Etsy fees. We're actually going to add in our order fulfillment expenses as an expense here so we get more of a true representation of our profit. So we're going to add a row and we're going to just say total fulfillment expense. And then the other thing you want to do is you can add rows if you want to also include your overhead expenses on a monthly basis. For example, if you pay for Printify Premium, even if you paid annually for it, you can break that down on a monthly basis just by subtracting 1 month's worth of it each month. So we'll have a row for total fulfillment expense. We'll have a row for Printify Premium. And what we're going to do here is we are going to come to the expense column, which is column G here. By the way, one small tip with Excel, if you're not super familiar with it, if your list is really, really long and you forget which column is which, the easiest thing to do is to go over to the View tab in Excel and then go to Freeze Top Row and just click on that. That will freeze row 1 so that as you scroll, the headers for your columns stay there. It just keeps them frozen in place. We're going to go ahead and put Printify Premium expense in here in column G, and I'm going to enter it as a negative number so that it maintains the same formatting. So we're going to put minus $29 in there. I'll just pretend I pay monthly for that. And if you only use one print-on-demand provider, then you only need one row for this. If you use multiple print-on-demand providers, then you're going to need to add a row for each one separately and then go get those totals separately. But first, let's just do an example with just one print-on-demand provider. We'll use Printify, and then I'll show you where to get the information from the other print-on-demand providers. If you use Printify, the easiest way to get your monthly total expense is going to be to enable monthly statements rather than individual order statements. Going to your little profile icon up here and then click on the settings option. That will take you to the settings page where you can locate the option for the invoice frequency and format. So if you want monthly, make sure you have it selected for monthly. It's important to set this the way you want it and then not really play around with it too much because this is not retroactive. So if we had it set to monthly and then we changed it to individual order invoice, it's going to immediately start invoicing every individual order. And then if we switch it back to monthly, again, that's going forward only. So the current month you're in won't have the full month because some of those orders were invoiced individually. It's a little bit weird. I know I kind of wish Printify just let you generate a monthly invoice regardless of what you have set, but you want to make sure you have this set to monthly with the way that it currently works. Assuming you have that set, you can go to the payments page. So in the same place in your account settings, just go to the payments page and then the summary invoices tab is where you want to go. There you'll find the invoices by month and you can actually already see the total amount that you paid to Printify for each individual month right here. You don't even really need to open the invoice, but if you want to take a look at the invoice itself, you can just download that and open it as a PDF. But for the purposes of this example, we were looking at December 2022. So the total right here is $25.99.34. So now we can enter that as our total fulfillment expense. And if you only use one print-on-demand platform to fulfill your orders, this is really all you would need to do. Just add any other monthly overhead expenses, like if you pay for a keyword search tool or something like that on a monthly basis, add those in. And then all you're going to do is add a row to total everything up, and that will give us our total profit for the month. So what I like to do with my bottom row where I'm going to total everything is just format it a little differently so it stands out. I like to add a little bit of fill color to it. and maybe bold it. There we go. All right, so for the revenue column, we're going to total that up with a simple auto sum function here. And it's probably not going to grab all the way to the top automatically. So just go into the formula, and where the first reference point is, where currently on this one it says 1445, just back that out and change that to row 2. That's just the first row that you want it to go up to, and this one starts on row 2. So just put F2 in there for this one and hit enter. That will grab all the way to the top. Now you might need to format these to currency to make them actually a little bit more readable. There we go. We're going to do the exact same thing for column G. So you can just grab the corner if you're using Excel and drag that over to the right. It will apply the exact same formula, but it will apply that to column G. So there we go. $39.92.70 was our total expenses. So now in the net column, I'm not going to actually total that one up because that one doesn't have my order fulfillment expense in there. So for this one, I'm just going to do a formula to add together columns F and G. So we're going to do our equals, select our total in column F, add a plus, select our total in column G, and hit enter. And now we've got our total profit for the month of December 2022, $2,016.29. And the only other thing that I do is just to the right of that, I calculate the profit margin. So if we do another equals and our net profit, and then we use our divide into our total revenue, that will tell us now that our net profit equals 33.5% of our total revenue. So that's a profit margin of 33.5%. Now mine in reality is just a little bit lower than that because there are a couple overhead expenses I did not take the time to add in here, but that is pretty much right on par with what I am hoping for on a monthly basis, coming out to a right about 30% after all my expenses are factored in. So mine might be coming out closer to like 29, 30% after I add in the other things that I pay for every month. I also think I had a couple orders fulfilled by Printful in the month of December, so that also would knock down my profit a little bit, but not too many. I think it was maybe just a few. But speaking of Printful, the last thing I want to show you is where to get this total cost information from both Printful and Gelato in case you use those two platforms. On your Printful account page, all you're going to do is look for the Statistics tab in the left navigation here. That will load this summary page, and right on it, you have a block for total order costs. So all you have to do is come up here and change the date range to whatever range that you need, and it will populate your total order cost for that period of time. And if you use Gelato, you're going to look for the Analytics tab on your account page in the left navigation here. And I don't know if this is just me or if you all experience this with Gelato, but I have never been able to get my Analytics tab on the Gelato website to display a currency other than euros, even though in the top right corner, I have my display currency set to US dollars. Now, there are two possible solutions for this if you need to get this number. One would be if we're still relatively close, like if this was just last month and maybe it's the first week of the new month, then you could just take this number they give you in euros and like Google the currency conversion. It should be pretty accurate because not much time has passed since that month ended. But if you were going far back in time, like a few months, then the difference in the currency conversion could actually be significant enough to give you a different number than what it really is. So if you're going back in time, that's not the best option. The other option is to actually look in Gelato's mobile app. All you have to do is download the Gelato mobile seller app and log into your account. And then on the Analytics tab across the bottom there, it will load a page that looks just like this that provides a lot of the same analytics that you have in the web version of your account. And importantly, there's actually a little drop-down option here for the currency. So even if this loads in euros or some other currency, you can actually just change it to any currency that you want, and it will actually respond and show you the currency that you're looking for. So if I want to reference my total expense from Gelato, that's currently what I'm doing. I'm just looking at the mobile app because it's easier. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope this information was helpful if you were looking for ways to track your monthly profits for your Etsy print-on-demand business. Let me know in the comments if it was or if you still have questions about it. If it was helpful for you, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button so that YouTube can show it to more people. And be sure to subscribe to the POD Insights channel so you can be notified when I come out with future videos. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much. I really do appreciate the support. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.